Is that right? This tonight? Yeah, I graduated from Western, so had both middle and high. You see, back in the early 2000s, when President George W. Bush was in office, he made this thing called the No Child Left Behind Act for guys like me who got left behind because they were too busy doing drugs in the parking lot. So they were like, just graduate and give them a diploma and get them out of there. They'll end up working in the construction industry anyway. And that's where I am.
Yeah, but that's good.
So we we got some songs for you to listen to. Can we play some of those songs? You may or may not know them. Hey, look at Dawn. Dawn was the first one. Like, you ready?
Young man. Young man. There's no need to say young man. But just a open man to say young man.
It's gonna be in your head the rest of the night.
Everybody get ready. Come on,
All right, next song.
Hey.
Next song. Next song. You know this song. Next song, please. That's my jam right there. Y'all know it. All right. So, calm down. Those are all songs that we like to call sticky songs, right? They get stuck in your head. On the way home, you're like, sticky songs. And this month we're in a thing called Moving On, about forgiveness. Today we're going to talk about sticky things that get stuck in our brain, okay? Now, has anybody ever thought that they were really, really dumb at one point in their life? Yeah.
Every day.
I am so stupid. I say that a lot at work. What about this one? I'm a bad friend. That's me. What about this one? Shh. Bob, take it in another room, would you? I'm not good enough. What about this one? I'm a terrible person. Has anybody ever had that pop into their mind? And it stick there? Now, maybe somebody, go back to them real quick. Sorry. Maybe somebody spoke one of these to you, said it to you. You're so stupid. You're a bad friend. You're not good enough, and you're a terrible person. That changes the perspective of these words, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden, that's mean. It's funny when we say it. Oh, I'm so stupid. Ha ha. When somebody else says that to us, it takes a different effect. Would you agree? Okay. Now, we have it yet again up here, the definition of forgiveness. Forgiveness is letting go of negative feelings we have towards someone who has hurt, harmed, or disappointed us. That person could be you. You could hurt, harm, or disappoint yourself, okay? Pretty simple logic, okay? All right, moving on. Here's some more things. I don't want people to think that I did something wrong, okay? We start changing the perspective in our minds, right? Okay, we had something happen to us or did something, and then you start asking and telling yourself these types of things. I don't want people to think I did something wrong. Next one. And these are just examples, guys. They're not like, if one hits home, that's fine. It's easier not to tell anyone about this. Ooh, that one's starting to cut a little deeper, right, as we go into the thought. Next one. Why would I want to ask for forgiveness? Forgiveness. Why would I want to ask for forgiveness if nothing is going to change? Has anybody ever asked themselves these questions? You don't have to raise your hand, obviously. Another one. I'm a failure, and I don't deserve to be forgiven. That's very intense, and I hope none of you have ever thought that. I really do. But if you have, that's why you're here tonight. Okay? And tonight we're going to learn real quick about a man named Paul. We're learning a lot about Paul because he wrote a lot of books. Okay? About 13. New York Times #1 bestsellers. 2,000 years in a row. And Paul asked a lot of these questions. He felt like he was a failure, right? He had some of the same struggles. But then he wrote this in the Bible, in Romans. The Romans was written to the Romans. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Now, that's kind of a weird little transition into the sentence, because it says, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Well, I was like, okay. So if you break it down, during our sin, right? During our doubt. Does anybody realize that, like, doubting God is a sin? Anybody realize that? Like, not trusting God is just as big a sin as murder. To me, it's kind of on the same level as murder, because you're saying you're not significant enough to take care of me. It's like a 2-year-old being like, saying to me, like, no, you can't help me, or you can't. I'm like, seriously? So that's the way, it's like just as big a sin as anything else. So, for not trusting in God, not asking him to help us, that's a sin. But why we were still in our sin, as in why we were still sinning, he died for us in our sin, right? He died for the thief on the cross and everybody else, okay? Now, knowing Jesus changes everything. This one's come up a lot, and I'm pounding it into your heads because this is key. Changes everything. Knowing Jesus changes everything. But you have to tap into Jesus, right? You have to use it. You can't just blah, blah, blah. All right. And we've all sinned, fallen short of the glory of God, right? Which would mean that everybody needs forgiveness. That's pretty normal thing, right? Now let's read a scripture about what that means. Make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Ooh, ouch. That kind of hurt a little bit. Remember, the Lord forgave you first. I'm going to add that in there first. So you must forgive others. You got to forgive like God forgave us. And all the dirty junk in our life, God forgave us as quick as the day is short. Right? Everybody needs forgiveness. We need it. We really do. Daily. Daily, okay? Now, here's some practical things as we close up that you can do during the week to help understand forgiveness on a better level. Identify where in your life you're having a hard time moving on. Now, last week, if you were here, we talked about there could be a significant traumatic event that happened in your life that you are having trouble moving on from, okay? And that's okay to be in that situation, right? There's the saying, it's okay to not be okay, right? But it's not okay to stay there, right? You don't want to stay in your junk. It's okay to fall in a pit of poop. It's not okay to stay there. Like, oh, I got poo on me. Well, let me go take a shower, right? It's okay that you're not okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. All right. Number 2, remember that you are forgiven, not by everybody else, but by Jesus from dying on the cross. Okay. And number 3, take one step toward forgiving yourself. That's probably the most important one, because a lot of times the root of a lot of issues in people's lives is they haven't forgiven themselves for something in their life that they have done towards somebody or something they didn't do for themselves. And lastly, everybody needs forgiveness yet again. Now, pound into your heads. The most important things are these little 3 and 4 word reminders. We need forgiveness every day. And as we go into small group, we're going to cut quick so we have a little bit more time to be able to pick back up from next week. What is one reason forgiving yourself isn't always easy? Because it's not. You're like, oh, yeah, I can forgive others. Yeah. Sometimes we beat ourselves up if we didn't do something. Let's do a quick example. You should have like trained more for a tournament or a basketball game or a football game or a test. You didn't study enough, blah blah blah. And then you're like, man, I really should have done that. Like, I don't know why I didn't do that. I should have done that. I know I should have been done that. Like, why didn't I do that? And then you start being like, gosh, it was so stupid that I did that. Why did I do that? And you keep harping on it. It's like, well, you did it. It's time to forgive yourself and get over it, okay? So talk about it in small groups. I will lay the ground rules again. As we go and talk about forgiveness, things might come to the surface that you don't know about people, and we ask that you respectfully keep those things within that group if that person decides to disclose that information to that group. Because if you want, I would be glad to walk you through the Bible and show you what the scripture says about gossips and where they end up in the afterlife. It's not a good spot to be in, okay? So we don't want you to tell anybody anything in these groups, and we want you to be respectful to whoever's talking and not laugh and cut up, because something serious and somebody may need some serious healing from an issue in their life, and this is how we're going to do it, by community and by being with one another and praying for them and being their friends, right? We're not enemies. Y'all aren't enemies. Lot of enemies. Got a lot of enemies. Anyway, we're not enemies. Y'all aren't. You think you're all enemies and your peers. You're just a bunch of 7th graders stuck in adult bodies right now. Wait, that's me. Never mind. Other way around. Bunch of adults stuck in 7th grader body. So let's be respectful, guys, and Let's have good conversation and try to forgive yourself for being Patriots fans if you are one. Anyway.